Hi, welcome to the First Nations Housing Webinar Series, where we answer questions from community leaders. I'm your host, Jan Eeks. Now, before we get into it, I want to mention the First Nation Housing Conference, February 4, 5, 6 in Thunder Bay. And that's an occasion to talk face-to-face with people who can help you do what you do. And I'll be there for the Builders Challenge this year. I hope you'll be there too. For the webinar today, the presentation will be about half an hour long. Use the chat to ask questions at any time or raise your hand so you don't forget what you wanted to ask, but they'll be dealt with at the end of the presentation. Now, in today's session, we're going to hear about energy efficient retrofit projects and how to assure that they not only save you energy, but they improve the health of your house and the family living in it. Gail Lawlord has been working on health and energy efficiency in First Nations for over 40 years now. We actually started about the same time, and it's always a pleasure to talk with Gail and find out everything that's been evolving as we're running along. Well, Gail, you're looking energetic as usual. You want to?
There we go.
There you
Oh,
are. Got the mic on.
hello, Jan. Nice to see you again.
Yes. So tell us about who you are and what we're going to hear about today.
Well, thank you. I've been in the energy and waste and water management worlds for 40 years. I've been in energy for probably 30 of those 40 years and working with First Nations communities since 2007 exclusively. So not a full 40 years working with Indigenous communities, but it's an honor and a privilege to be working with such amazing, talented people who want to make change. And that's what I'm loving about my career, is that hopefully we get to learn something and do something that makes real change and a healthier future. But health is one the things that's really come to play in the last 10 years of my career, of looking at we can't just be building submarines and saving energy. We have to be ensuring that the people living in the homes are as healthy as they can be, and that's what we'll be talking about today.
Okay, we all live in a yellow submarine.
Yeah, hopefully not, but with good ventilation system at the very least.
Okay, well, let's go to it. You want to throw up
I
your
will share
PowerPoint?
I will share my screen. There we go. So oops, we go back up there a little bit. So my is addressing health and the home energy efficiency programming. And in this webinar, what I'm really hoping that you will note is, as I said in my intro, there's a significant link between how a house is built, renovated, and I always add maintained, because that's the part that we seem to be missing all the time. We do a lot of good building, and we, to net zero, to passive house levels. We renovate. Deep energy retrofits are all the rage right now. We're all working towards that. But the maintenance is still the missing link, I feel. And so we've got maintenance included in all of that, and the health of the occupant. So if you've known me for all these years, you know that how the house works in the system, and respecting that, and respecting and understanding how the building science principles of how air, heat, and moisture flow through our homes and how we interact with them. Those are my I'm going to get rid of my view here because I'm having a hard time seeing my screen, actually. So there, oh, sorry, I think I took you all off on the wrong spot there. Let me just take you back here. My apologies. I just have to get rid of all the faces. Oh, why are we not sharing anymore?
No, we still see you.
You can still see me? Oh, I guess I changed my view to something. Okay, there we go. Oh dear. Okay,
We get
I'm doing
old and our
something.
view changes. That's
Well, I'm changing the view and I don't see my screen anymore. Not quite sure
oh,
what I did there. I'm seeing me.
we're seeing
And
you.
I'm not seeing my screen anymore, and I don't know what I did wrong. My apologies for this.
Okay, we still have it.
Try. Let's see what's going on here.
Big three, can you help
Yeah,
out here?
I apologize. I don't know what's going on. I'm going to stop sharing and I'm going to, oh, it had a share pause. That's what it was. Let's see if I can get it back again this way. There we go. Okay.
Technology, it's all about maintenance.
Yes, that's right. You guys gotta keep tinkering. That's what you got to do. So, when we understand how houses work as a system, and we will talk a little bit about that today, and we won't get into any of the details about how air, heat, and moisture flows through our home. That would be another whole seminar. But when we respect those principles, we avoid all moisture and mold problems, and we have improved indoor air quality. The occupants are comfortable. We get to protect the integrity of the structure, which is so important. What's happening in many Indigenous communities is that buildings are are being ruined in less than 17 years. And I just read a new number that said up to 10 years, and new houses are ready to be replaced. You can't add to your inventory in your community if you are always continuously replacing prematurely rotting homes. And water is the major reason for that rot to happen. And that's because we haven't respected how the house works, the system, and the building science principles. And we haven't done the maintenance to ensure that the house is not undergoing that moisture problem. If you look after all those things, you get automatically lower energy bills. And that's what we're going to talk about today in that kind of order. Because we often put our focus on the energy side of things and forget about the comfort and the health and the safety of the people who live inside. So I believe our housing goal is to imagine houses that have no mold, very healthy, are more comfortable, last twice as long, and cost half as much to heat. That seems like a given. Doesn't that sound like something, Jan? You and I have been talking about this forever. That's exactly how we should be building. And that's what net zero, that's what Passive House, that's what Energy Star, that's what they're all working towards. But the problem is that we don't maintain that because we don't maintain the home. But how do we make sure that we have safe, healthy, comfortable, durable, and automatically, if we look after those things, an energy efficient home? What are the key things that we need to look for? And I usually have everybody shouting out this list to me, so I will walk through it and hope it resonates with you. The most important thing is you have to look at the foundation. If you're in Muskeg, building crawl spaces or basements and foundations do not work. You have to look for the appropriate foundation for the local environment. And then you have to look at the airtightness of the building and making sure that the building structure is as airtight as possible. You have to install lots of insulation, avoid thermal bridging, avoid all that loss of heat through all the studs. So you have a nice solid sweater around the entire house, lots of insulation to hold the heat in. We don't want to be producing heat in the home and just let it go out and heat the world outside. The heat should be put in the home and it should stay in the home and for as long as possible. You'll burn less wood, you'll use less fuel of all sorts. Of course, it's a given that the building envelope has to have high performance windows and doors. And we have to look at all the appliances inside and make sure that they're all Energy Star. Then, once you have designed or renovated or you're maintaining and you make any changes to the air tightness and the insulation levels, you have to make sure that if you are installing or replacing any heating or air conditioning systems, that they are sized to what the structure is able to perform at. And that is a piece that installing properly sized is often missed. And then, so we don't live in that submarine, we have to look at what's about balanced and controllable ventilation. We are caught up with the term heat recovery ventilators. I'm as guilty as anybody. I still refer to them as HRVs. And so in our own lingo, within our own people of the building world, HRVs are just fine to say. But when we're talking to community members, fresh air machines, I have found, is a far better word to resonate with because nobody knows what a heat recovery ventilator is. And they're still considered the new kid on the block. Even though they've been around, Jan, for 30 plus years, they are still the new kid on the block. And this is in mainstream and in Indigenous communities. So it's everywhere. So we need to call them what they are. We have to train all our housing contractors, everybody who touches the house, to understand the why. Why are you doing things a certain way? and they understand that house system concept, and they understand how the air, heat, moisture flows through the building. And then, of course, we have to always provide education to the occupants. And it can't be just a one-time, flyer when they move into a new house, or something about, oh, we renovated your house, we put in this new fancy machine here that's going to give you fresh air, and then walk away. It has to be ongoing. It has to be continuous, because people don't understand all of the ins and outs of operating their home in an energy efficient but also healthy and safe way. So that's all part of that maintenance side as well. Bada bing, bada boom, there's our housing goal. If you follow all of those steps, and I know there's lots of little bits and pieces under each one of those, but those are the basics of building a home that is going to be safe and healthy and comfortable for the people living inside. It's going to be durable, and that it's going to avoid moisture damage. And the house will then last for what National Building Code says should be 50 plus years and still be safe, healthy, and comfortable and durable. And if you look after all of those things, it will be energy efficient. There will be less hydro, gas, propane, wood to be burned to heat that home. There's a new phrase that I've just learned, healthy energy homes. And I think that's a good phrase, and I'll explain in a second where that comes from. But Albert Einstein, he tells us we can't solve problems if we keep using the same ways of thinking that we used to create them. And if we keep building homes the same way that we have been, and then tearing them down in 10, 17, 20 years because they have rotted, they're not maintained, where are we at? We still have long waiting lists for people to have homes, and we need to be adding to the inventory of our communities, not just replacing existing inventory. So we have to think of a new way of doing things, and we have to shake things up. And sometimes that takes a lot of difficulty to do that. And that's where Indigenous Clean Energy and other programs, and coming to the conference, you get to learn new ways, you get to see new ways and of how to build. The Healthy Energy Homes comes from a new report that came out in the summer of 2024 from Indigenous Clean Energy. And if you don't know Indigenous Clean Energy, I highly recommend you go to their website, which is just indigenouscleanenergy.com, and learn more about them, because they have so many programs and ways of supporting you if you are looking to do clean energy projects in your home or in your community. Their report is called Beyond Sustainability, the Power of Indigenous Healthy Energy Homes. And it is a scoping paper that was looking at all of the important policies and looking at health inequities that are experienced by Indigenous communities. So we know that there's some colonialism here of, you must build the houses this way. You only have this much money to build the homes. And so often things are shortchanged. And if there's only so much money, and if you can build 5 homes poorly, and you can relieve the pressure on the waiting list, you'll build 5 homes sometimes, whereas building 4 homes and doing them better is really the way we need to be moving. But money is always the issue that dictates how we're building, it seems. So the health studies that are linked to health and the case for a new national approach. And so I'm going to speak to that more in my next slide as well. So that whole national approach, we have to be incorporating house system and building science principles into our projects so that occupant health is always the first priority. And we do that by building better homes, keeping them renovated at a higher level, and of course, maintaining them all the time. And when we look at energy efficiency, it is a doorway open to all of these other benefits for the home and the community and for the people living in the home. Everybody deserves to live in a home that's healthy and safe, affordable, culturally appropriate. We keep building homes that don't allow for multi-generations to live in, because that's what we're told we have to build. There needs to be more homes so that everybody can have their own home. That is a right that everyone should expect. And durability, of course, is always the big part, making sure that home does not rot. And if there's rotting happening, it becomes unhealthy because there's mold growing inside the walls. I had the great pleasure of working with Dr. Tom Kavesi, who is a pediatric respirologist out of the Children's Hospital in Eastern Ontario in Ottawa. And many years ago, he did scientific studies in Nunavut to determine lung health of children. And then he did a study through 2017 and 2019 in Northwestern Ontario. And I was invited to come along and be the indoor air quality expert with him. Dr. Tom Kavesi spoke at your conference a couple of years ago when we were first initiating this project, and he has come back to share his results. So many studies or papers have now come out of that study. Being not a very scientific person, it's amazing to me how many years it takes for scientific papers to come out of scientific research. But the papers are now there, and they now show and prove that we have poor construction, overcrowding, lack of maintenance, inadequate ventilation, and it's all directly impacting lung health. His studies are all related to children, but I know you can assume that that lung health is also for the adults as well. The one thing that we really, through that Northwestern Ontario study, we did 100 homes, and I did a 5-day indoor air quality testing procedure on each of those homes, and did a full audit of the home as well to detail every element of the home. And I was accompanied with a nurse from the community, and we talked about all the health issues in the home. Is that when there was properly installed operating mechanical ventilation, fresh air machines, the air quality was significantly improved. So that may not sound like much, and we only had 6 out of 100 of the homes with working, operating HRVs the way they're supposed to. I believe there was 47 HRVs in the study. Out of those 100 homes, there were 47 of them, but only 6 were actually operating. Some of them were just sitting in boxes on the floor of the crawl space or the basement. Some of them were partly set up, but not fully set up. And so when we have scientific studies like this, it's an important step in being able to prove our point that health is an integral part of every energy efficiency project that we need to be doing in the building, the renovating, and the maintaining of our homes. If we can take that information and say health costs will be reduced by improving the health of children, because it's thousands and thousands of dollars to take a child by helicopter out of a remote community to Ottawa or to Thunder Bay or to Toronto, thousands and thousands of dollars to put them on a ventilator somewhere, because whatever they need. And so if we can reduce that medical cost, we can put that, we should be asking at the federal level, take those savings and put them into building better homes and allowing us to do deep energy retrofits on the existing homes and allow us to put a maintenance program in place in every community. And that's where we are heading with this healthy energy home program. So here is the proof that HRVs work. So benzene and formaldehyde were 2 of the things that I was testing for in the communities. And we showed, if you look at the bottom there, we reduced benzene and reduced formaldehyde by 47 and 46%. So almost half by using continuous ventilation. So those 6 homes that had properly operating HRVs had half of the amount of benzene and formaldehyde in the homes. That is significant. And mold was significantly reduced as well. There was absolutely no mold found in any of the homes that I went to that had operating HRVs, because the moisture levels were kept at a level that didn't encourage mold to grow. But some of the homes that used range hoods and bathroom fans continuously as well, they also had no mold. So it was a proof that those 100 homes that did not use or did not have available to them range hoods and bathroom fans to use, and they didn't have HRVs or didn't have HRVs that were working properly in a balanced format, they were unhealthy homes to live in. And there was more lung health for the children, and we didn't measure the health for the adults, but it's a presumption that you can make. PM 2.5s are small particles in the air. 50% of those small particles, and those small particles that are breathed into our lungs, are what can aggravate asthma and can aggravate other lung conditions like RSV and pneumonia and other things. And all those little tiny particles are from wood burning and from dust and particles coming off of our shoes, coming into the house, off our clothing, off of cigarette smoke, all of those elements. So a half of the PM 2.5s were reduced by operating HRVs. So I was a little bit surprised when I saw the results finally come out and saw it. I went, wow, we only had 6 out of 100 homes. But when it was put in perspective for me by the scientists who analyzed all this data that I had collected, they said, but this is the very first study where we've proven the benefits of HRVs. And now we can take that study, even though it sounds like a very, very small number, 6 out of 100 homes, that's a good first step to show the government we need to be installing HRVs in the homes. And I have to say, in all the First Nations that I've worked in all my years of working, we have a lot of HRVs installed in Indigenous homes. But how many are working? 47 homes had HRVs, 41 of them weren't working. And it's the same in other communities as well in mainstream. It's a prevalent problem everywhere. HRVs are still the new kid on the block. And I said earlier, even though they're over 30 years old in their operation and being designed, we have to include more education and effort to make HRVs working. So to be effective, HRVs have to be designed properly. They have to be the right size for the house. They have to be installed properly. They cannot not be in crawl spaces, which is where I found all of the HRVs in that Northwest Ontario program. It seems to be out of sight, out of mind, does not work. And it has to be up in the laundry room. It has to be in the furnace room or the mechanical room. They have to be upstairs where people can access them to clean them and to operate them. People need to understand what they are. So many people told me in that study that they were an air conditioner. How? And they only operated them in the summertime because they thought they were an air conditioner, but they didn't think they were a very good air conditioner. Yeah, I can understand why. They would be bringing in very warm air from outside. So lots of education. It can't be just a one-time handout flyer. It has to be something continuous. And who's responsible for the full maintenance? The homeowner should be responsible for cleaning the foam filters inside the HRV. But who cleans the outside ductworks that are intakes and outtake exhausts ductwork, and who cleans the actual box itself and the core? It may not be something that people can do, especially if they're elders. And so you have to come up as a community with who's going to be responsible for that. And in many communities who are making HRVs work, their housing department has a maintenance program. Homeowners are expected to do a certain amount, but they will do the rest. So if any of those 4 steps are missed, not improve the air quality or control moisture in any homes. So if you're not going to commit to those 4 steps, don't bother putting them in. Put in a bathroom fan that's run on a dehumidistat in the bathroom. Put in a range hood fan that people will use, but don't expect there to be really good health and really good exchange of air. If you're not committed to those 4 steps, then don't waste the money. But these are the 4 steps that everybody should be looking at to commit to in any housing project, be it new builds, retrofit, and in maintenance. Everybody should be maintaining that system. Can't say that enough. This is just a constant problem everywhere. And rename, as I said, to Fresh Air Machines so people know what they do. So here's an idea. This is how up on the James Bay coast, I was working up there for 12 years under the Conservation of the Coast program. And we were doing deep energy retrofits on hundreds of homes. And I installed Fresh Air Machines. We created this sticker that was relevant to our machines and what all of our units look like. And it gave people a list of everything that they needed to do. And so the sticker was, right in sight. Every time you went into the laundry room, you could see that sticker. But a maintenance plan with housing may always be required, as I said earlier. So let's just look quickly at House's system. We're going to just do a quick overview of what it is, and then we'll get into some questions. So House's system has been around a very, very long time. I full 40 years in the career, and Jan's as well. We know that the house is made up of 4 components: the building envelope, everything that's included in the building envelope, the structure, the insulation, the roofing tiles, the concrete, everything that's mechanical in the house, and that includes all the appliances along with the heating system, all the people in the house and the pets and the plants who are part of that interior environment, and everything that's happening on the outside of the house, be it where the trees are planted, how many trees, what type of trees, how cold you are, what system, where you live, how much sun you get, how much rain you get, how much snow you get. All of those things make up the external environment. So you have those 4 components. Let's just back away from that for a second and look inside the house. And we have the heat, air, and moisture, as I've mentioned several times already. So let's look at what do you want for comfort from the heat, air, and moisture component of your home. So heat, normally I like to have you all shout out the answer here, but I'll just give them to you. 20 to 21 degrees Celsius is considered a constant temperature 24/7, all seasons. That's what people would like. Sometimes like it a little bit warmer in the winter, and certainly some of us can handle it warmer in the summertime, but that is the given temperature of comfort. And moisture levels, somewhere in that 30 to 40% relative humidity level, ensures that we don't have static electricity, we don't have dry noses. We are well. We actually know that if it's too dry or too moist, viruses can grow. And so 30 to 40, and sometimes we call it 50%, 30 to 50% is still okay. That's where we want to be to ensure that people have optimal health from a moisture level perspective. And, how do we measure air? Fresh air. How do we measure fresh air? We measure temperature, of course, with a thermometer. We measure moisture levels with a hygrometer. How do we measure fresh air? Our noses. And your nose will become very accustomed to the smells of your house. So if you walk into your friend's house and you go, ooh, it doesn't smell very good in here. Oh, I can smell you're making roast beef for dinner, or you had burnt toast this morning. Everybody in the house will say, oh, I can't smell that anymore. So fresh air is a very relative thing. But that's what we require. Everybody deserves fresh air in their homes and no smells. But what does Mother Nature deliver? What does Mother Nature give us? She gives us the extremes. We can have anywhere from minus 40, which I know some of you are probably under right now today, to plus 40 degrees in the summertime. So we have this massive temperature range. We have a very wide humidity moisture range as well. It can be very, very dry at 0%, or it can be 100%. And at 101% relative humidity, if it's warm outside, it'll be raining. If it's cold outside, it'll be snowing. And we can have lots of wind happening depending on where you're located. If you're near a lake or on a hill, you'll have lots more wind effect than other houses that are tucked in with other communities lower and around with lots of other buildings around them or trees surrounding them. So Mother Nature gives us this massive temperature range. But what do we want? This 21 degrees, 30 to 40%, and fresh air. How the heck do you achieve that target when you have this to deal with? Well, it all comes down to that building envelope has to be as well insulated and as airtight as possible. The heating system has to be appropriately designed and to be designed for as the size it should be. And all of the other elements in the house have to be energy efficient, and we have to have mechanical ventilation that's controlling the moisture levels, because every time you shower, too much moisture is being put into the house. Every time you cook, there might be extra moisture being put into the house. And at that point, you might all be looking at your own windows this morning and saying, I've got 3 inches of condensation or ice on my windows today. The moment you start to see any kind of condensation in your windows, you have gone over that 30 to 40% relative humidity. And so it's important that we build tight and ventilate right. I like it so much, I'm going to really emphasize it here. So build tight, ventilate right. If you remember nothing else from today, ventilate right is what I'd like you to take away. Because when we build tight, that includes the insulation as well. And then when we ventilate right, we can help a building envelope achieve that target of comfort that everybody expects and deserves when they live in a home of 20 to 21 degrees Celsius, 30 to 40% relative humidity, and fresh air. How do we achieve that? And you can do it with confidence once you understand how your house works. And you do need to understand, and I'm sure most of you have already talked about in other training, how heat, air, and moisture flows in and out of your home, and how you as a builder or a project manager and somebody involved with the structure and of the home and sizing and installing the mechanicals, you have to understand how heat, air, and moisture flow in and out. And that's another session of its own. So build tight, ventilate right. How do we do it? Leakage, a third of your heating bill, a third. So if you want to reduce energy and put more money in people's pockets so they can afford food, you have to reduce the amount of air leakage in the home. So we're not just putting wood into the stove. We're not using the baseboards or the furnace and pumping all that heat out through the cracks and leaks of the house or the building envelope. The building envelope needs to be much more airtight than that. And that's where Passive House and net zero energy homes, they are really, really focused on that air tightness and dropping that 30 to 40% down to 1 or 2, 3, 4%. And but then you say, wow, that sounds like a submarine. Yes, it would be a submarine. We tighten it though, because now moisture that we produce inside as a family can't get trapped in the walls and start rotting the building. And now we have savings and we can add ventilation for health and moisture control. So mechanical ventilation, our fresh air machine, is a system that takes stale air from inside the house, takes it out and brings fresh air in. The cool thing is that there's actually time where inside that box, the two air passages cross each other. They don't physically touch. They go through that core, and the air that you or the heat that you spent a lot of money on is preheats the fresh air coming into the house. So you take the moisture out, the excess moisture out. You take the stale air out. You bring fresh air in, and you preheat it. That's the benefit of a fresh air machine. If you use exhaust fans in the bathroom and the kitchen to be your ventilation system, it's a one-way road. And so you are only taking the stale, moist air out of the house, and you're relying on cracks and leaks in the rest of the house to bring air in to take its place. It's not a bad system. It works, and we've used it for centuries or decades. I should not centuries, decades to exchange our air. But it's a shame to lose all that heat we paid good money for. So if we can recover 70, 80% of that heat and preheat the fresh air coming in, that would be good. Now, if it's minus 30 outside and you're preheating that incoming minus 30 with plus 20-degree air from inside, you know that that air coming in is not going to be plus 20 degrees Celsius. So that's where some people say, oh, these HRVs, they provide a lot of cold drafts and they're not very comfortable in the home, and people turn them off because they can feel a cold draft coming through the exhaust hood or the hood. And so if that's the case, sometimes we need to put a preheater on the HRVs to boost that heat a little bit more so it's not a cold draft. The problem is that most people put that booster on the side where the minus 30 air is coming in. We want to put the booster of heat on the opposite side. Bring that air up, that cold air up to as warm a temperature as we can, and then give it an extra boost. So many times I walk in, and the energy penalty for doing that, taking that minus 30 air, trying to bring it to plus 20 with a heater is tremendously expensive to do. And that's another reason why people turn HRVs off, because of the electricity bill penalty that's happening. So there's lots of ways and things you need to be learning about how to install HRVs. And that's a whole other subject in itself, and another training course to itself. But just know that those are some of the key issues that I have seen in my years in the field. So houses that work, they work like a system. And you know that if you have a sore thumb or you have a sore belly or you have a headache, your whole system of your body doesn't work well. You need to be healthy all around to feel good every day. Your house is exactly the same. If there are too many people in the house and they're producing too much moisture and you can't control that amount of moisture, and windows start getting lots of water on them, and you start getting water dripping and mold growing inside the home, those, you know that your whole house is out of balance. So changes can be small, they can be cumulative, or it can be one large change. Everybody moves out and there's just mom and dad left. That's a huge change because the heat, air, and moisture flow have to rebalance. A whole family moves back into the home because they're waiting for their new house to be renovated. That's a huge change. Change all the windows of the house. That's a huge change. You'll change the heat, moisture, and air flows. Again, this is a whole other training course about this, but understand that we can have small changes that all of a sudden do set the apple cart adrift or upside down, and we have problems. But the effects can also be positive. We change all the windows, we do some air sealing, we add some more insulation, and all of a sudden everybody says inside the house, wow, so much more comfortable, feels so much healthier. No one has runny noses. We're not seeing the mold in the corners anymore because now we added a layer of insulation on the outside of the house, and that layer of insulation now has warmed up all the thermal bridges. We don't have cold spots for moisture to grow, and we don't then have mold growing where the moisture was. But the effects could also be negative. But the key is there's absolutely no effects, negative or positive, that we don't already know in the housing industry. We've spent, there have been many, many contractors before you and housing people before you who learned the lessons the hard way. So you don't need to learn those lessons. You just need to learn how to predict what are the changes going to be. If you change the building envelope in any way, if you change the number of people inside the house, if you cut down a big shade tree outside, if you change up or don't you add an HRV or your HRV is broken, and you've changed something mechanically, you make one of those changes, we know exactly what the outcome is going to be. We don't have to make people in the home suffer because we've done something and didn't respect the house works as a system. We know and can predict what the changes will be to the heat, moisture, and airflows for every single change to house's system components. The thing here that we have to learn in the housing world is how to mitigate it. What do we need to do to make sure we bring the heat, moisture, and airflows back to that nice, tidy target of 21 degrees Celsius, not too hot, not too cold, 30 to 40% relative humidity, not too dry, not too moist, and fresh air. That's the mitigation. And generally, almost exclusively, that mitigation involves some type of mechanical ventilation. So again, that's a whole other webinar to itself as well. So it's a balancing act. We have to teach people that it's okay to turn on fans to get extra moisture out when you're showering. It's okay to turn it off. You don't need to have it running all the time. You might need to adjust the temperature. You might need to do things. You might need to add more weather stripping to a door that's worn out. People need to learn that balancing act of how to maintain their health and comfort. And that balancing act is to always be achieving 21 degrees Celsius, 30 to 40% relative humidity, and fresh air. That is your goal, and that is your mandate of anybody working in housing, is to provide that target of comfort and health and safety. Health and safety will be there as well in that target. That's your mandate. How do you do it? Those are the things you have to work out. And all of the answers are in house as a system understanding and understanding how air, heat, and moisture flow through the homes and how they interact. I also like this phrase, first we shape our buildings and after our buildings shape us. So if we shape really shitty buildings, excuse my language, then we will have people who are not feeling good inside their buildings. But if we shape buildings that are healthy and can maintain a healthy heat, air, and moisture flow, then people will be healthy and comfortable inside them. And if we do that, we are also making sure that the building envelope stays healthy and it doesn't get prone to rot and moisture damage. And if we do all of those things, bada bing, bada boom, we also have lower energy bills. And that is the essence of my presentation today, is that we have to always focus on the health and the safety and the comfort of the people and the durability of the structure and get the energy savings as the automatic given. We don't want to put our focus on the energy efficiency. All of our programs are called Deep Energy Retrofit. You can see it right here under, this is Indigenous Clean Energy's Bringing It Home Project Accelerator Program, which I'm a coach for. And we choose up to 20 communities every year. We're in our second cohort right now, and you've missed the second cohort, but if you're interested, make sure you get involved in the third cohort. For an 18-month period, participants receive all sorts of education, in-person training and virtual, and they get coaching and to create the plan for their deep energy retrofit work in their community. We don't have the funding to give you all the cash, the millions of dollars that you might need to do that work. That money is coming from different sources, but you get $250,000 to engage with your community for 18 months to figure out how you're going to, and to train all your crews, to get everybody up to speed, to do engagement with your community members. And so there's a significant amount of money that's provided to you to plan a deep energy retrofit program. And so if you are in that process of thinking, this is what my community needs, I encourage you to go to the Indigenous Clean Energy website and find out about this program. It's free for you to join, but you have to be accepted, and they have a limited number every year. But it is a wonderful way to be supported in this journey. So in conclusion, we can't keep building and renovating and not maintaining the same way and expect healthy occupants, durable homes, and reasonable energy bills. There has to be a shift. There has to be a change. And that change has to respect the house's system and understanding of the building science principles, which is how heat, air, and moisture flow through our homes. And then if we do that, if we respect and understand and we build, renovate, and maintain with that in mind, we will meet our housing goal of safe, healthy, comfortable, durable homes that are also energy efficient. And the real nutshell in all of this is I am on the bandwagon for trying to figure out how do we take study of just 6 HRVs that were working and prove to the federal government that if we can reduce healthcare costs by getting more um, people healthy in their homes with better ventilation, and we're doing all this other good stuff to the building envelope and the mechanicals that are working the way they're supposed to, and if we're reducing healthcare costs because less children have to be airlifted out of their communities to be dealt with in a children's hospital outside, can we take that money and redirect it into this Healthy Energy Homes program? And there are lots of people working on this mission. So be assured that this is something that Indigenous Clean Energy is very involved with, and there are lots of us. And it might not seem like we have much, only 6 RVs to prove our point, but we are going to take that and run with it. So that's the end of, did I do 30 minutes or did I go over? Oh, I went over a little bit. I apologize.
Yes, you went over a bit. Yeah, let me
Yeah.
bring up a couple things from the chat. I know you have some questions you wanted to do. I'm about communication within the community. We had one person chatted in, how do we get indoor air quality inspection into our community? And then a community member from their community said, I'm doing it right now. Talk to the tribal council. So we need that communication. And that's a thing I think that we need a lot of work with the modern social media because it's a new way of communicating that we can reach more people faster with lots more details. We need to learn how to harness that so that when there is a program like that, everybody knows about it. Everybody can be involved in it. We had one pointed question. How can we get that sticker that you put on the HRV?
Well, you know what, my email address is going to come up at the end. And send me an email or send me a text. An email is better because then I can email it to you. But no, and you are welcome to use it. And I am happy. We have a really good two-sided HRV information sheet that I would be happy to send out to anybody about how does it work and how to and why does it work and how you should use it. We also have one on moisture and mold. I would be happy to send out those to anybody. But know that the HRV one, you should redo the photos to match what your components look like in your community so people recognize them immediately. But absolutely, just send me an email and I'd be happy to email it to anybody.
Okay, I just want to emphasize from my own point of view, since I've been alongside you for these 40 years past, that I've come to the same conclusion you are, that the maintenance is the missing piece. That we send the box to the house, maybe it gets installed. We send the box to the house, it does get installed, then it gets turned off or plugged up. And I did a webinar myself earlier on preventative maintenance, and you can see that if you want. And what my argument was that we need to instill a culture of preventative maintenance. We need to how to get to it in the grade schools, getting the kids checking things like filters, stuff that young people can do in their own house that would then teach the adults and would bring the whole thing along, just to start saying, we're responsible for this, let's take care of it. And as opposed to let's just accept all of the health problems.
Absolutely.
Couldn't agree more. Questions you wanted to ask people?
I just wanted to, people turned on their microphones and wanted to shout out and I just thought as in summary, in your own words, explain the significance of the order. Why is it safe, healthy, comfortable, durable, and energy efficient at the end? If anybody has any ways that they want to try verbalizing that.
Anybody sticking up at the microphone?
Lois, I can see you. Would you like to try? You're my target here. I can see you. What's going on? Well, we'll just review that. So if you build and renovate and maintain homes, with
You
safety and health
can
and
hear
comfort. Oh,
me?
Lois, there you are. Perfect. Now I can hear
Oh yeah.
you. Good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm using my computer has very low volume, so I'm using my cell phone to be the so
Oh,
I have so you'll see me on twice here.
okay, no problem.
But that's had to happen to me before because I take an online course at night, so this is how I kind of know to make
Do
the
it.
volume
Oh,
better.
how do you
Oh,
want to explain this? Is there something that you can add to this discussion?
yeah, like right now, I'm dealing with a lot of that with the HRV, and some of them are so old too. Like, how do
Yeah.
you upgrade them to
Ooh.
become um m- like do you have to basically replace the old or HRV?
Well,
Um,
yeah, that's a good
or how does
question,
it work?
Lois. Yeah. The motor can be replaced. I've had to replace the motor in mine. They do wear out after a number of years, so they can be replaced. Then my HRV, my last one, when the motor died again, after I'd had it in for 15 years, I couldn't replace it because the machine was too old. So I had to replace the whole machine. So unfortunately, you do have to replace the machine sometimes. The problem we have is that when people don't clean the filters, the motor keeps running and then the motor dies because the filter's not been cleaned and it can't pull air through that filter and it overworks itself and dies. So yes, they need to be replaced just like a furnace needs to be replaced eventually. They have a lifespan, as all things mechanical do. So it has to be built into a maintenance budget to replace HRVs. The good news is that we are having huge success with self-balancing HRVs, because one of the major problems we find is that if I take a magnehelix gauge into a home and measure the balancing of the HRV, more than not, they are not balanced. There's too much cold air coming in, not enough stale air going out, or the reverse, and coming in, or the moisture levels aren't being reduced, and so they don't think the HRV is working. They have to be balanced. An equal amount of air has to be coming in to the amount of air going out. And so they need to be balanced. And that can be a part that's missed a lot. And so the self-balancing machines, I am hugely in favor of. I think we should all be buying self-balancing machines at this point, and they will work from that perspective. But then the key is to make sure that they're maintained and that nothing clogs up, and that the dust and the dirt, especially if you have dirt roads in your community, oh my goodness, those filters can clog up in a month or so. Usually, we say every 3 months they need to be cleaned. Depending on the amount of dust in the air in your community, it might be more often than that. So, yes, they do need to be replaced, Lois, sometimes, and but all the hard work of installing all the ductwork is done. So you're just installing, just the box, and so that's not too expensive or difficult to do.
My problem, my house, like I moved into it was my brother's house, and then, well, it's not really our house technically, but the band house. And so now that I'm living there, the HRV is not working from what I can tell, and who knows when it was last turned on, I don't know. And then all my vents are all whack, like none of them either work, or is there different vents for the HRV, or is the HRV connected to all the vents? How does that work?
Well, if you have a furnace system with a ductwork system, the HRV distributes its fresh air through your existing ductwork system. It then uses a brand new system of ductwork that you have to install to bring the stale, moist air out of the bathrooms, kitchens, and laundry room. And so that's the new ductwork that has to be installed in a new house or in a retrofit situation. But the existing ductwork for your furnace is your distribution process. If you are baseboard heated and have no ductwork, or wood heated and have no ductwork, then you have to install the ductwork for the HRV to exhaust and to be the fresh air coming into the house as well. You have to install ductwork for both functions.
Okay. Thank you. That's all I
You're
have.
welcome. Yes, thank you. Maybe just for sake of Jan, we'll just so these are just summary questions. If you build, renovate, maintain homes with safety, health, and comfort, they'll automatically be energy efficient. So it's just so important. As I said, build tight, ventilate right. I want you to remember that phrase. But safe, healthy, comfortable, durable homes, safe, healthy, comfortable for the people, like to say, durable for the structure. And if you look after those things in your how you're constructing, how you're renovating, and how you're maintaining the home, if all of your effort always keeps those top in mind, the home will automatically be energy efficient. But if you focus solely on the energy efficiency, if you're working on a deep energy retrofit program, it's easy to forget about the people who live in the house, and you may compromise the occupant's health and the durability of the structure. And my last question was to see if anybody had any house assistant examples. But I know our timing. Are there other questions or other chat things? This might be too much to take on at this point in our timing. But these are the kinds of things. I assume people have access to these recordings and these slides. You can take a look at these for yourself and just think about, in my own home, have I noticed, when the kids left or the kids came home, and different weather, and if I have a broken window, how it changes the heating, air, and moisture flows in the home. So I did want to just show these last slides because there's a lot of good resources out there. And if you're in the building and construction and housing world, that book on the far right, CHBA Builder and Renovator Manual, those are an absolute must. Every one of you should have those. They're about $80, I believe, to buy. Absolutely amazing manuals. And do yourself a favor, buy those. The other two you don't need so much. Alison Bale's new book from last year, it's pretty good. I still think that the CHBA books are better. But if you want to go a little deeper, that's a really good book to order from Amazon. And to even at the basics, Chapter 2 of Natural Resources Canada's Keeping the Heat In. We have been producing that brochure for many years, decades, in fact. That is a wonderful way to get that understanding of house systems and building science principles. They do a really, really good job in Chapter 2 of explaining that. And there's the link for it, because I know you'll have these slides. And there's my email address. And I'm happy to entertain any questions after the fact. And you can text me at my number there as well. And as I said, indigenouscleanenergy.com, a wonderful group to support you in your journey of building safe, comfortable, healthy homes that are durable and are also energy efficient.
Okay, Gail. Gail Lawlor. She's a lady with lots of questions and lots of answers. Really a good source. I see you have a new email address there. I'll have to take
Well, yes, my Energy at iDirect has been my business one, and I am slowly phasing it out as I am moving into semi-retirement. I'm in semi-retirement, and I'll be moving more into retirement. So I am.
Oh, don't give up yet. I still need.
Oh no, I won't be giving out. No, Indigenous Clean Energy keeps me busy, but the title is not president; it's connector of thoughts, and I like that concept, and I welcome any of you to reach out to me. I very much like to be able to connect people to the right resources, the right people, the right programs, whatever you need. I'm happy to connect you to things if I can.
Fantastic. Now, as you mentioned, the recording of this session is available tomorrow at the firstnationhousingconference.com/webinars. So you can see it or any of the previous webinars, or you can look forward to the rest of the webinars that are coming up. But speaking of that, next session is going to be on Thursday, January 23rd, 10 a.m. Charles Billy will be talking about innovative housing out of BC. Now, don't forget the First Nation Housing Conference, February 4, 5, 6 in Thunder Bay. There's still time to register. And as you leave, an exit survey will pop up on your screen. Please fill us out to help us develop this webinar series. And if you have any specific topics you'd like to hear about, let us know. I'm Jan Eeks. Have a great day. Thanks, Gail.